Deepak, here's the claim of science, that it recognizes that it cannot answer every question. There are things outside its domain, but it's the only way to ascertain truth that everybody can agree with. So that science everybody together, whatever science says. Now, there may be a smaller subset, because religious fundamentalists may disagree with some of the science. But when you get to some physical science that they can show formulas, that we know is true, because everybody in the world, no matter what culture they are, will agree with that. Now, they don't say that process will encompass everything. But whatever is not part of science cannot be said to be absolutely true.
What you say is definitely the prevailing doctrine. But if you want to know ultimate reality, ultimate truth, and if you want to know, can science give me a clue to consciousness, because without consciousness, there's nothing, right? Without consciousness, no perception, no cognition, no personal relationships, no social interactions, no environment, even no functioning biology. At the moment your consciousness is not there, your body disintegrates and falls into the dust and goes back to the recycling of the biosphere. Okay, so consciousness is, if that is what gives validity to everything else, can science give me an understanding? Inferential. I can look at neural networks and say inferentially there's something going on, okay? And I can even show the mechanisms of what is going on. But only consciousness can understand consciousness. Only consciousness can experience consciousness. Only consciousness can explain consciousness. Any scientific validation of consciousness is inferential, okay? So I'm listening to music on the radio, I infer that there's something happening in the radio that's producing this vibratory experience that in my consciousness comes alive as music. Okay, so answer is yes and no at the same time. Science cannot give me any idea of what ultimate truth is. Now, at the moment, the holy grail of science is quantum mechanics. Okay, it's a collapse of the wave function. So where's the wave? I've asked this question from good physicists, because I've been ridiculed for misusing quantum physics or using it selectively for my own arguments. But notwithstanding that, Schrodinger's wave equation, which evolves in time, where is it? Where do these possibility waves that collapse into particles, where's the wave? Show me where it is. Oh, it's in Hilbert space. So what is Hilbert space? It's mathematical space. It's not physical space. So you see how physics inevitably leads to metaphysics? A probability wave has no existence in space-time, and yet it explains. Schrodinger's equation explains every element in the universe. It's a mathematical continuum of probability waves. Where? See, you cannot get away from the fact that unless you take consciousness as fundamental, quantum physics falls apart. Okay? I don't think quantum mechanics is an explanation of the universe at all. I think we would not like to create a new science, and we should call it qualia mechanics, because what you experience are qualia, and you measure them as quanta. Okay? And then you say the measurement is the reality.
When you deal with consciousness, the problem is that everybody has different definitions, different feelings of it, different experiences, and until you can quantify it by more limited approaches of science, that we don't get agreement among different individuals. Now, therefore, there's a limitation to how far science can go.
Well, let's agree on a limitation that let's agree on a definition that nobody will argue about, and that is, it's the subjective ground of all experience.
Okay.
Including the measurements that we call objective. Okay, you experience heaviness. You don't experience 100 kilograms of weight. That's a measurement. I say to you, let me meet you at the corner of Broadway and 56th, And now we suddenly have a reality, but it's an agreement, it's a measurement, it's a notation. A latitude and a longitude doesn't really exist. So as long as we understand that science is a very useful measurement of something much more fundamental, then we're on the same page. And that something more fundamental is the common ground of all experience, not only yours, not only mine, not only of the scientists, not only of the religious fundamentalists, but of the birds, of the bees, of the plants, of the moon and the stars. You know, this big argument that Einstein used to have with Niels Bohr and everything, and in fact he had it with the Indian sage Tagore as well. I have a copy of it from the New York Times in the year 1930 or something. And, you know, the moon would still be there if no one was looking for it. No, the moon would exist as a wave function until there was a conscious observer, and then it would appear different to different conscious observers. It would appear different to a giraffe looking up than it would appear to you. Okay, there's no such thing as the moon. Okay, there are many moons. There are as many worlds, by the way. And I partially subscribe to the multiverse theory, but except that they all exist in consciousness.
Well, I think what you're giving is an anti-realist view. I mean, I think certainly most scientists believe there is an external reality. It is real. A giraffe may have a different perception of it. A bug with a different kind of eye structure would see it in a different way.
Then there's a contradiction. Then there's a contradiction.
No contradiction.
There's a contradiction because you're saying a wave and a particle on the one hand are the same thing, and on the other hand you're saying that a particle exists out there in the real world, so-called, when the real world is actually being experienced in consciousness. It's a hap, as Hans-Peter
I think there is an argument within quantum physics as to that reality. Some people think quantum physics isn't even the most fundamental theory in physics itself.
It's the most reasonably accurate theory we have.
It's certainly reasonably accurate.
And it works.
Absolutely, but nobody is saying that it's the ultimate theory. There must be something below it. So
can science tell me who am I? Why do I exist? Why do I even have
these are the
questions?
limits of science. And so the question
these
is...
These are the quintessential human questions of our species.
So to understand the limitations of science, what the boundary conditions are for where science can legitimately operate and give us the best truth that we know, is an important question for us to understand. So I think you need to give credit to science and to see what the boundary is.
Oh, sure, I took a jet plane to get here. Okay, I use a computer to communicate with people. I give credit to science where it makes a difference in my life. It's made my life enormously comfortable, but it's caused the extinction of species, it's destroyed the ecosystem, it's caused climate change, it's threatening our very survival right now because we take science to be truth and poetry not to be truth, even though I can have a more fulfilling experience of life by listening to a beautiful poem or by dancing. You know, there's a saying amongst the mystics, there's some cosmic music being played out, and I dance to it even though I can't name the tune.
And all that's fine, but we can't get agreement among different individuals on those kinds of things. Everybody can have their own understanding.
Okay, so let's call it a collective agreement then.
But you can't get it. But you can get it in science. The question is how much you have to circumscribe science so that it operates within boundaries that it can legitimately operate.
I think we need to expand science and include consciousness as a fundamental aspect of doing science. Then we are on the right page. But a fragmented science based on a divided mind, based on a subject-object split, is not only incomplete, it's dangerous.